Detective Patricia Valdez first encountered room 237 at the Grandview Motel on a fog-shrouded Tuesday morning in March 1994, when she responded to what the desk clerk had described as a medical emergency with unusual circumstances. What she found challenged everything she understood about physical reality and would haunt her for the remainder of her career in law enforcement. The guest who had called 911, Robert Henley, was a traveling insurance adjuster who had checked into the Grandview the previous evening after his flight from Chicago was delayed. When Patricia arrived, she found Henley sitting in the parking lot, wrapped in a motel bathrobe, staring at room 237's door with an expression of profound confusion and terror. He claimed that the room he had fallen asleep in was not the same room where he had awakened that morning. Henley's account, delivered in the measured tone of a man accustomed to documenting details for insurance claims, described checking into a standard motel room featuring 2 double beds, beige carpet, and generic landscape paintings on paneled walls. The room had smelled faintly of disinfectant and cigarette smoke, exactly what he had expected from a budget accommodation near Denver International Airport. He had unpacked his suitcase, ordered a pizza, and fallen asleep watching late-night television. When he awakened at 6:30 a.m., Henley found himself in what appeared to be a completely different room. The beige carpet had been replaced by hardwood flooring. The generic artwork had vanished, replaced by family photographs featuring people he did not recognize. Most disturbing of all, the room now contained only a single bed, a 4-poster antique that definitely had not been there the previous evening. His suitcase remained exactly where he had placed it, but everything else had transformed overnight. Patricia's initial assessment focused on the possibility that Henley had somehow entered the wrong room during the night, perhaps after using the bathroom or getting ice from the machine down the hall. But when they examined his key card and spoke with a night desk clerk, they confirmed that Henley had never left room 237, and no other guests were registered in adjacent rooms that might explain his confusion. The motel's day manager, Elena Rodriguez, had worked at the Grandview for 12 years and had developed a reputation for efficiently handling the various crises that arose in budget hospitality. When Patricia questioned her about room 237, Elena's professional composure cracked slightly. She admitted that the room had been the source of numerous guest complaints over the years, though nothing quite as dramatic as Henley's account of overnight transformation. Elena retrieved the guest complaint file for room 237, revealing a pattern of reports that had puzzled management for over a decade. Guests consistently complained about furniture that seemed to move during the night, room layouts that didn't match their initial impressions, and decorative elements that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Most complaints were dismissed as confusion or intoxication, but the frequency and consistency of reports had made room 237 a source of ongoing concern. Patricia decided to examine room 237 personally, accompanied by Elena, who possessed the master key and intimate knowledge of every room's standard configuration. What they found defied logical explanation. The room bore no resemblance to either Henley's description of his check-in experience or the current appearance that had so disturbed him that morning. Room 237 now contained mismatched furniture that seemed to represent different historical periods: a Victorian writing desk, a 1950s dinette set, and modern motel fixtures awkwardly combined in a space that felt both crowded and strangely incomplete. Elena confirmed that none of the furniture currently in room 237 belonged to the motel's standard inventory. The hardwood flooring was original to the building, installed during the motel's construction in 1967, but had been covered by carpet in all guest rooms for over 20 years. The family photographs on the walls featured faces that neither Elena nor Patricia recognized, displayed in frames that ranged from ornate gold leaf to simple modern styles. Patricia's investigation revealed that the Grandview Motel had been built on the site of the former Riverside Rest Home, a facility that had housed elderly residents from 1923 until its demolition in 1966. City records showed that the rest home had been closed following a scandal involving patient neglect and financial mismanagement, though specific details were sparse. The property had remained vacant for nearly a year before motel construction began. Elena provided Patricia with contact information for former guests who had complained about room 237, hoping that additional witness accounts might help explain the ongoing phenomena. The interviews revealed that every guest had experienced similar overnight transformations, though the specific changes varied dramatically. Some reported awakening in rooms that resembled different historical periods. Others found themselves surrounded by personal belongings that were not their own. And several described rooms that seemed to contain furniture and decorations from multiple decades simultaneously. Mary Catherine Walsh, who had stayed in room 237 during the summer of 1992, described falling asleep in a typical motel room and awakening in what appeared to be a 1940s-era bedroom, complete with floral wallpaper, a vanity table covered in antique cosmetics, and clothing hanging in the closet that belonged to a woman who had died decades earlier. The clothing had included a wedding dress yellowed with age and a nurse's uniform bearing name tags for Denver General Hospital. Thomas Rivera, a guest from 1993, had photographed room 237 both upon his arrival and after his disturbing awakening experience. The photographs, which he mailed to Patricia after their phone interview, showed the same room transformed from modern motel accommodation to what appeared to be a Depression-era parlor, complete with a radio console and furniture covered in dust cloths, as if preserved from another time. Patricia's investigation led her to the Denver Public Library's archives, where she spent weeks examining records related to the Riverside Rest Home. What she discovered explained the source of room 237's supernatural activity. The rest home had housed over 200 residents during its 43 years of operation, and many had died in rooms that corresponded to the current motel layout. Room 237 had been built directly over the space that had once contained the rest home's most populous wing. The rest home's records, preserved despite the facility's disgraceful closure, revealed that residents had often moved between rooms based on their changing medical needs and the availability of beds. Many elderly residents had occupied multiple rooms during their years at Riverside, creating emotional attachments to different spaces throughout the building. When they died, their possessions were typically donated to charity or discarded, but their memories remained connected to the rooms where they had lived out their final years. Patricia realized that room 237 was experiencing a form of temporal overlap, cycling through different configurations based on the memories of former rest home residents who continued to inhabit the space in some form. Each night brought a different arrangement as various spirits attempted to recreate their former living spaces, resulting in the constantly changing room layouts that terrified motel guests. Elena confirmed Patricia's theory when she revealed that housekeeping staff had been reporting unusual phenomena in room 237 for years. Maids would clean the room to motel standards, only to return the next day and find furniture rearranged, personal items that belonged to unknown individuals, and decorative elements that seemed to appear from nowhere. The housekeeping supervisor had learned to assign room 237 to their most experienced staff members, who understood that the room required flexible expectations about maintaining consistent appearance. Patricia made the decision to spend a night in room 237 herself, hoping to document the transformation process and better understand the supernatural forces affecting the space. Elena initially resisted the idea, concerned about liability issues and Patricia's safety, but eventually agreed when Patricia explained that law enforcement needed to understand the full scope of the phenomena affecting their community. Patricia's night in room 237 began normally enough. She checked in using her own identification and credit card, ensuring that her presence would be officially documented. The room appeared to match standard motel configuration: 2 double beds, beige carpet, generic artwork, and basic amenities. She set up a camera to record throughout the night and settled in with reports to read while monitoring for any unusual activity. The transformation began at approximately 2:15 a.m. when Patricia noticed that the temperature in the room had dropped significantly despite the heating unit maintaining its normal operation. The generic landscape paintings on the walls began to fade, replaced gradually by family photographs featuring elderly faces she did not recognize. The beige carpet developed patterns and colors that suggested decades of different floor coverings occupying the same space simultaneously. Over the course of 3 hours, Patricia watched room 237 cycle through what appeared to be at least 6 different configurations. She witnessed the modern motel furniture fade and be replaced by pieces that represented different eras and personal tastes. A rocking chair from the 1920s, a television console from the 1960s, medical equipment that had once assisted residents with their daily activities. Most remarkably, she observed the room's dimensions seeming to shift, accommodating furniture arrangements that should not have fit within the physical constraints of the space. The most profound moment came when Patricia realized she was no longer alone in the room. Translucent figures moved through the space, elderly residents going about their nighttime routines, checking locks, adjusting pillows, and tending to personal belongings that existed only in their memories. They seemed unaware of her presence, focused entirely on recreating the comfort and security they had known during their final years of life. Patricia's camera captured nothing of what she witnessed, recording only an empty motel room with standard furnishings throughout the night. The photograph she took with her personal camera showed room 237 in its normal configuration, despite her clear perception of its supernatural transformations. She realized that the phenomena existed on a level that technology could not document, visible only to individuals who were present during the overnight cycles. When morning arrived, room 237 returned to its standard motel appearance, leaving no physical evidence of the night's supernatural activity. Patricia found herself questioning her own perceptions until she discovered a small item that confirmed her experience. A hand-knitted shawl draped over the chair where she had watched an elderly woman sit and work on her needlepoint throughout the early morning hours. Elena examined the shawl and confirmed that it did not belong to motel inventory. The craftsmanship and yarn quality suggested it had been made decades earlier, and it bore the faint scent of lavender sachets that had been popular among elderly women in the 1940s and 1950s. Patricia kept the shawl as evidence, though she knew it would never be accepted in any official report about her investigation. Patricia's final report classified room 237's phenomena as unexplained but benign supernatural activity and recommended that the motel management develop protocols for handling guest complaints with sensitivity and understanding. She suggested that room 237 be reserved for guests who specifically requested unusual accommodations, allowing those with interest in paranormal experiences to stay there voluntarily while protecting ordinary travelers from unwanted encounters. Elena implemented Patricia's recommendations, creating a special category for room 237 that attracted guests seeking paranormal experiences while generating premium revenue for accommodations that had previously been a source of complaints and negative reviews. The room became popular with ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, and individuals curious about supernatural phenomena, all of whom appreciated honest disclosure about what they might encounter during their stay. Years later, Patricia would reflect on her investigation of room 237 as the case that taught her that some mysteries exist not to be solved, but to be understood and respected. The elderly residents of Riverside Rest Home continued their eternal routines, finding comfort in recreating spaces where they had once felt safe and cared for. Rather than viewing their presence as a problem to be eliminated, Patricia had learned to see them as community members deserving of acknowledgement and respect. Today, room 237 continues to transform nightly, cycling through different configurations as various spirits recreate their former living spaces. The Grandview Motel has embraced its supernatural resident, marketing room 237 as a unique accommodation that offers glimpses into the continuing presence of Denver's elderly community members who refuse to let death end their connection to the places they called home. Patricia has retired from active police work but maintains correspondence with paranormal investigators who study room 237, providing guidance for understanding supernatural phenomena with compassion rather than fear. The room that changes every night stands as a testament to the truth that some people's attachment to home transcends the boundaries of life and death, creating spaces where past and present coexist in beautiful, impossible harmony. This was another tale from the S.T.F Horror Vault. If you felt the chill tonight, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. New stories open soon. And remember, the vault is always waiting.